today's event. The talk will be delivered in a hybrid mode as we have also organized live streaming on YouTube supported by WAST and IISER Kolkata. To begin today's session, I would now request the WAST Secretary, Professor Moitri Dashgupta, to introduce the audience about Dr. Sunil Chandra Bose. Professor Dashgupta is a professor at the Department of Biochemistry, University of Calcutta. She is the recipient of several awards and accolades, such as J.C. Bose National Fellow, Fellow of the Indian National Science Academy, and Fellow of Indian Science Academy, Bangalore. She has also received the prestigious Women in Science Sefikra Award, Fulbright Nehru Award, and many such other prestigious awards. So without further ado, let us begin today's session. I request Moitri ma'am to please come up on the stage and introduce Dr. Sunil Chandra Bose, in whose memory the lecture will be delivered today.
Good afternoon. On behalf of WAST, this is Professor Moitri Dashgupta. I extend you a very, very warm welcome. I sincerely welcome Professor P. Arun for agreeing to deliver this lecture. And I have no words to thank Professor Jayashree Sharma for being with WAST for organizing this talk. It would not have been possible without her cooperation. So it is a mandatory role of WAST Secretary to stand here and tell you at least two sentences about WAST. So WAST began in 1986, where possibly most of the audience was not even born or just born. So, and then it officially took shape in 1989. Everything is happening in the conference room of IISER Kolkata. And then with 136 founder members, it took off. We have 13 sectional committees and covering from medical science to veterinary science to agricultural science and physical science, chemical science, everything. Engineering itself has three sectional committees. So this event is being organized by the Medical and Veterinary Science Committee, of which Professor Sharma is also a member. So this is just about WAST. And it is important for you to understand that WAST is not only a machinery to give fellowship to eminent people, to arrange some endowment lectures like this that we are organizing here, but also WAST has taken up a lot of outreach activities where WAST is going to different schools and actually trying to promote the culture of science in different schools. And so whosoever are fellows of WAST who are present here, it is my duty to tell them that please try and hold such events in whatever form you can, and please approach WAST, we'll help. This is my mandatory lecture. Then it is also for me mandatory to honor Dr. Sunil Bose, in whose honor this endowment lecture has been organized. Even though it's shown, I'll just read out briefly. Professor Sunil Bose was born in 1893 and he was son of Jankinath Bose and Prabhupada Datta. But the most important thing that will give you assurance is that he is the elder brother of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. He graduated from Calcutta Medical College, but he did MRCP in London. He came back and he established a cardiological society in Bengal. And he served as second president, subsequent to Professor B.C. Roy. In 1926, this is also very important, he brought the first ECG machine in India, just imagine. And his legacy continues through annual memorial lectures, the kind that we are having today. And on behalf of WAST, I express my honor to Dr. Sunil Chandra Bose. And with this, I give my thing to. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind introduction. I would now like to request today's host, Professor Jaishida Sharma, although she doesn't require an introduction, just a brief. Dr. Jaishida Sharma completed her PhD in collaboration with the Indian Statistical Institute and Indian Institute of Chemical Biology, and her postdoctoral work at the Institute of Pennsylvania, USA, and then she joined Thomas Jefferson University Neurology Department as an assistant professor. She is currently a professor at the Department of Biological Sciences, IISER, Kolkata, and an adjunct associate professor, Department of Ophthalmology, University of Pennsylvania, USA. She is an elected fellow of the Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore. She is also an elected fellow of the Indian Academy of Neurosciences and the West Bengal Academy of Science and Technology WAST. Her group is using the murine coronavirus, mouse hepatitis virus induced model of neuroinflammatory demyelination to identify newer antivirals against the beta coronaviruses. This model mimics certain neuropathological and clinical features of human neurological disease, multiple sclerosis. Her studies on immune response to viral-induced demyelination in addition to cell-cell communication and role of spike protein in demyelination has also led to significant contributions and made a measurable impact to the societal understanding of beta coronavirus-induced pathologies. Due to extensive experience in generating animal model, responsibility was vested upon her under the umbrella of System Medicine Cluster Project DBT to develop orthotropic and metastatic experimental models of cervical and ovarian cancers. So with this, I will not take any further time. I request Jayashree ma'am up on stage to kindly introduce today's speaker, Professor Arun.
Thank you, Anushka. It is my great pleasure. First, I would like to say that hearty welcome to all the participants. It is not only that IISER Kolkata, people came from different institutes like President's Institute, SSKM Hospital, and also NITMG. So it is my great pleasure to invite all of you. And first, my gratitude goes to Professor Moitri Dashgupta and Professor Shuja Dashgupta for giving me the opportunity. As Anushka mentioned, that they actually asked IISER Kolkata to host the first talk, and this is a great privilege for IISER Kolkata to host such an eminent talk, which will be given by Professor Arun. And I think already all of you know Dr. Arun. He is the CEO of Tata Medical Center, Kolkata, Senior Consultant, Head and Neck Surgery. But just to give an official introduction, Dr. Arun serves as the Director of Tata Medical Center, Kolkata, and Senior Consultant in his Department of Head and Neck Surgery Oncology. Tata Medical Center is the 438-bedded tertiary referral center for treatment and research in cancer, established by the Houses of Tatas as a not-for-profit initiative. He also serves on the board of directors of the Assam Center Care Foundation and the Tata Center Care Foundation under the Tata Trusts. The two organizations are engaged in setting up world-class cancer care facilities across the state of the Assam and the rest of India. Dr. Arun completed his MBBS in 1995 and Masters in ENT Surgery in 1999 from Calicut University, and then went on to do his MCH specialization in head and neck surgical oncology at Amrita Vishwa Vidyapitham. He then did his visiting research fellowship in clinical and basic sciences research in head and neck oncology in 2009 from National Institute of Health, Bethesda, USA. He was awarded an honorary Doctor of Science by the Amity University in 2023. Upon his return to India in 2009, Dr. Arun joined Amrita Institute of Medical Sciences, Kochi, as an associate professor and later moved to Kolkata to join the newly established Tata Medical Center as a consultant. Dr. Arun has organized many studies and clinical trials, including basic science research, leading to over 60 publications in peer-reviewed journals, apart from book chapters and monographs. He also served as the Honorary Secretary of the Foundation of Head and Neck Oncology, India, during the year of 2021 to 2023. While this is the official introduction, I must say he is a very good friend of IISER Kolkata. Whenever we need any help for any cancer treatment, we contacted him and he immediately replied without any delay. By a day we get the reply, and the people who are referred, they get very good treatment. So I'm very happy, and tell you the truth, Dr. Arun and me were talking for a long time to set up the translational research, where we realized like neither he understands our language nor I understand the clinical language. But through SciMake grant, we are very much geared towards setting up the translational research. So he came today at 10 o'clock and he spent a couple of hours with us and also a couple of faculties at the Department of Biological Sciences, and he discussed how we can set up the MOU. So very soon we will set up the MOU. So I'm very happy, and for his enthusiastic support of our research, I hope we can come out with some good research through the translational work, and we can really in true sense can do translational research, though it is far-fetched. With that, and I'm very, very thankful to Dr. Arun for taking that initiative and taking his time with his busy schedule to come and give the Dr. Sunil Chandra Bose Memorial Award. With that, over to you, Professor Arun.
Ma'am, before that, I request Jayashree ma'am and Moitri ma'am to kindly welcome Professor P. Arun with a flower bouquet. Sir, please.
Center, okay. It's your pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Can you keep it maybe in your seat? Yes, thank you.
Very good afternoon to all of you, and audible right till the end. Thank you so much, Dr. Jayashree, for having me in your midst. And to tell you the truth, I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm standing before an audience. It's so learned, so accomplished in your own areas. And to top it all, I'm being asked to talk about research. And you know, how many times have you spoken research to a doctor? And how many times has a doctor spoken research to you? I think it does not happen. We live in entirely two different worlds. And at the same time, the buzzword is to say, be translational. Make sure that what you do affects the patient on the ground. It's quite a challenge for me as a doctor to negotiate these two words. But I must assure you that I have tried. And this is a story. It will be peppered with a lot of personal bias, with a lot of personal experience, may not make sense to you. I'm not pretending to be a scientist at any point, but if you feel that I am, feel free to question me, to correct me as we go along. So I come from Tata Medical Center. If you ask me what I do, I am a surgeon. I get into the OR 3 days a week. Usually we'll start around 8:30 and then go late into the evening. As things go, like, you know, each of you have your specialized area of lab. Even doctors today only take up specialized areas. So even though I'm an oncosurgeon, I just do head and neck cancer. And don't worry, in West Bengal, there are enough pan chewers to keep me busy throughout the year and maybe for the next decade to come. So I cut off these cancers, and one of the key role is to, because you know, if you have a cancer in your tummy, you can hide it under your shirt, but when you have it on your lip or your face, I know you become a social handicap. There are problems with speech, there are problems with swallowing, and people will ask, what has happened to your face now, right? So our job is also that of a plastic surgeon. We do reconstruct these with tissues from all over the body. So we now, suppose you lose your jaw, we have to take bone from your leg and sort of carve it into a jawbone and then connect the blood vessels to the neck. So fairly interesting work, but that is a day-to-day job. So again, in Tata Medical Center, we have a good, great group of people who practice academic medicine, which is quite different from the clinic which you usually go to where the doctor just prescribes you medicine. So we are asked to question ourselves from time to time. We are asked to keep our data. I encourage people to look into data and suggest changes to protocols that we follow. And I think you may follow global protocols, but I think action has to come locally. You have to learn from your own data if you want to chart your own course. So that is what we follow at Tata Medical Center. A few glimpses if you haven't been there, but this is also an opportunity. Dr. Jesh has given this opportunity, invite you all to TMC Kolkata to see how we work and how we act. So this was conceived by Mr. Ratan Tata. He himself was an architect. He was trained in Cornell as an architect, and he put in a lot of effort into making this building open with a lot of spaces, open spaces, gardens for patients to go around, and it's really wonderful place to work in. We also have our Tata Translational Research. I'm sorry that spelling is wrong there. There should have been an N there. So like all doctors, we're bad with handwriting, so even the typing that goes on. So this Translational Research Center is where, we believe that most of the research that we do somehow harks back to the patient as well. So we do mostly work on patient samples. We are doing organoids, so that kind of stuff goes on there. And this is funded mostly from grants that we get, and by TCS, which has a big life sciences division, if you're not aware. They just don't make computers. They have got their footprint into life sciences as well. Apart from my job as a part-time scientist or a make-believe scientist and a surgeon, I also travel around the country setting up hospitals. So right on that, so this is the Assam Cancer Care model where the government is part of the initiative, and we want to set up hospitals all along the Brahmaputra. So this will network with the rest of TMC so that we have standard protocols for treatment of cancer, which is as good as anywhere in the world. And also, when I'm talking to scientists, it can create a network for a tissue repositories. So the amount of patient load that we see in India, we can beat the hell out of any Western country at any time. So this is one of the ulterior motives of taking on this job. And again, this is called the Tata Cancer Care Foundation. We are setting up 4 hospitals in Tirupati, Ranchi, Chandrapur, and Prayagraj. 2 are done, 2 are still to go. So it keeps me busy throughout and most of the weekends I'm traveling. So I just gave Dr. Jayashree a long chase before she finally caught up with me. Thank you so much. So I move on to the topic today. So I'm going to don the role of a scientist because I have to make that. You have those kind of street plays, like chow and all that you put on the garb of a scientist. Today I'm going to do that in front of you, and you can tell me how I fare at the end of it. So when I started medicine, I took medicine because my father told me that it's a good job. It's a very earn well. And if you don't study hard and if you don't write your entrance and you don't clear your entrance, you'll end up as a clerk like me. So he said, better get moving and sit quietly and study. So that is what I did. I thought that I didn't know maths very much because all I could do is count on my 10 fingers. Beyond that, calculus never appealed to me, so I took medicine. And I realized that it was a very time-intensive thing. It totally sucked the juice out of me for 5 years. The amount of trauma that went on, examinations every 4 months, you have to clear semesters. I got through a regular, government entrance, so my father didn't have to pump in too much of money. But today, it's not very easy to get into a government college. It's very money intensive. And I don't know why people pay so much for a medical course. Maybe because of, the light at the end of the tunnel, or maybe the diamond hanging at the end of the rainbow. People still go for medicine at this point. Believe me, it's very time and money intensive. I also realized that after spending 6 years of my time in a medical college, after having donned the white coat with the stethoscope around my neck, that I did not do any research there, nothing, during my undergraduate years. So I was never ever trained to be a scientist at that point of time. And you're talking about translational research, right? So I didn't understand when I did my undergraduate that a doctor can do research. So when I did my post-graduation, suddenly my guide stood in front of me with a kind of a look in his eyes, you better get moving. You get your thesis done. And I said, sir, thesis, what thesis? He said, there is a row of books in my room. You go to the end of it and pick one and do the same thing. So I said, this is research, what has been searched 10 years back. And put in a lot of photographs and make sure it looks attractive, spend some money on binding it well. I said, sure, sir, I'll do that. And that earned me my MS degree. So that is the research that I did at that time. And whenever I went to ask my teacher, he said, why should it be like that? Why shouldn't it be other? I said, no questions, I'm the professor. Just listen. So that was my exposure to research during 8 years there. By the time my hair had started graying, I had finished 5 years of medicine and 3 years of my MS in ENT. Finally, I cleared. I became a specialist in ENT, and the moment I started my practice, I never went into private practice. So I was in Amrita for a long time, and patients started coming to me. I became an independent practitioner. So otherwise, I would hang around my professor. Whatever he says, I would say yes sir to everything he said. Now today, I sat in another chair where the patient is asking me questions. So I said I like cancer. For some reason, I took it because it's mainly because of the kind of mentors you have, and I had somebody, a teacher who was very focused on cancer, and somehow you follow your teacher. I became interested in cancer. So a patient comes and sits with me day one and asks the same questions. I hear these questions time and again. I find a small oral cancer. He would ask, what will happen to this? I have no idea. There are some cancers which grow fast. There are some tumors which grow. But it's cancer. You have to treat it. Now, Bajboto, will I live for 5 years? Who knows? Will it spread? I had no idea whether it would spread or not. I said, I'll treat you. Don't worry. Let's see what happens. But back of my mind is thinking, will it spread? Will tomorrow he come back with a lymph node in his neck? I have no answer. Then finally I make a diagnosis and say, no, this is advanced. I'm not operating you. You're going for chemotherapy. He asked me, side effects? Oh, yes, there will be side effects. Will it respond to the treatment? Then again, will I be all right? I don't know. Again, this is the standard treatment. You take it. Many people benefit, many people don't benefit. A patient comes with a white patch on his tongue. We call them potentially malignant. Pre-malignant is an old term. We call it potentially malignant lesion. He asked me, will it turn cancerous? I said, you stop smoking. So I'm not answering the questions that my patients are asking me. And I find 8 years of medical training have left me totally incapable of answering basic questions. Even today, a patient sits in front of me, asks the same question. There are many more. I cannot put 10 slides and bore you to hell. But these questions keep coming, and I realize I don't have answers to any one of them so far. After having practiced head and neck surgery, after Dr. Jayashree giving a good glowing tributes to me in my introduction, I still don't know what will happen. We need trials. We need to investigate into that. We know that today, at least, because of the quantum of work that people like you do, we know it's a genetic disease. Somewhere there is a genetic underpinning which manifests as cancer. We have to unravel it. Again, today's big theme was surgeons sit in one pole, clinicians sit in. You never talk research to a doctor, nor will be a doctor interested in listening research from you. If you show 2 pathways and say which pathway goes into the nucleus, he will give out a big yawn and say, "Chai ka time ho gaya." So, except that is how we stand as a surgeon standing in front of researchers. That's exactly how I feel. That's the time I felt that, sometimes you are forced to work because you realize your own inabilities. When you think that, I'm not, when you realize you're failing, if you think I know everything, then there is nothing to worry. But when you feel that I'm lacking something, and you make a deliberate quest to find it out, and that's when certain things light up in your mind. Off chance, at one of the head neck meetings, I meet a person called was from the National Institutes of Health. I've heard of NIH because they give PubMed. PubMed is a library for medical journals, which we access. So I knew he came from NIH, he came Bethesda. But more than that, he came from US. It was a good opportunity to travel to US at least. Both then I've gone to America. So I got this fellowship from him. He looked at my CV, looked at my training, and he said, why do you want to come there? I said, I asked the same things. I said, do you have answers to these? He said, sounds interesting, which we have thought. Okay, do you want to come over for some time? I said, if I come there, I'll come there for 6 months. And then he looked at me and said, what are you going to do for 6 months? I said, I'll stay in your lab, just like, many of you want to come to TMC at this point of time. Then he said, 6 months, Americans are very polite. They would say, 6 months is too short. Then I said, 1 year? I said, no, it will take 1 year for you to understand what things are at NIH. Okay. So then how long do you want me to say, will you come for 2 years? And then I thought, 2 years down the line, I'm going to lose all my surgical skills. Nothing. I'm going to come here and sell badam in Kharagpur station. I can't go to America. Here I have to make a choice whether I should take 2 years. I'm a surgeon and I'm supposed to operate every day and keep my heart soft. If I go to US, I'm done for it. Then don't talk to my wife. I said, "Hey, we're going to US and I go now. Just see what it is." But I said, no, I go, I have to go with a purpose. And so that's how I started my research career at NIH. Carter got me the fellowship, and I travel, and that too not just for me, for my wife. We got my insurance. So it was very nice. It's took me to the Fogati International Office, and that is how I started. Day one was teaching for me, and you know who my teachers were? That's Matt Brown. Today, Matt Brown is a reconstructive surgeon. He was a third-year medical student. He was my teacher. I am a qualified MS surgeon, and he teaches me how to use the pipette. He tells me how to dissociate cells. He tells me how culture is done. He taught me, there are other members who taught me how Western blots are done. So just took some time, and then I realized that there is something inherently different in the way things. That's like my younger self, by the way. So said that is how things are. He's a third-year MBBS student who took time out of his medical training to learn research, and he was my first teacher at the NIH. So with the team I worked, and so I saw this. I see this all the time. You researchers get obsessed with certain pathways, right? So Carter was obsessed with NF-kappa B. He won't talk anything about anything else. I'm talking about something, he will bring me back to NF-kappa B. And he said, you do it. And so I grew my cells, and finally I found that there is this phosphorylation site at 276. If you inhibit it down, like the NF-kappa B, these subunits do not go into the nucleus. They don't tie themselves to the binding site, and then replication does not happen. So he said, go block this pathway. And then I got a product called H89. So you go to the NIH library, drug library, you tell them the pathway, they will tell you something there, what you need to block that. So I brought a vial of H89 in a black bottle. It's light sensitive, so it comes in a black bottle. Went around them, and then I sort of, mechanistically I showed how this happened and how you can inhibit phosphorylation using stopping it at the 276 site. And cancer ends. Oh my God, I was in 7th heaven. I said, here comes the Nobel Prize. I have cured cancer. NF-kappa B is inhibited. No pathway progression. Cancer stopped. I wrote home saying that, watch out for this page, and running in the news. It didn't take long when Clint, he's the head of that lab at this point of time. Clint said, Bugger, you stop this pathway, you know what happens? The pathways escape through another parallel pathway. So you inhibit the canonical pathway, but the alternative pathway does not get blocked. I said, there goes my Nobel Prize. End of my story. I said, Badmash, you work with me in the same lab and you do this to me. And that is when, it hit me as a surgeon that, science or the way cancer works is not as empirical as you think it is. It is not driven by one pathway, one road. There is no one Kalyani expressway which drives cancer. That you block it and the life stops. And realization dawned on me that I am the bigger game ahead of me. Just look at that, how cancer pathways interact with them. There are so many pathways, there's so much of crosstalk going on. And I am worried about groups who swear by the pathways they go on for ages and ages. I think the answer does not lie in stopping one pathway. The answer to your queries does not end with one pathway. And that was realization. I learned from my failures. And I said, rather I would go back and start my surgery once again. But I didn't stop. At least, what it helped me was to talk to you people. I learned your language. It was just like going to Germany and learning German. Today, I don't have a lab of my mind, of my own. But why should you? When you have good collaborators, when you can. There is Dr. Jayashree here as well, and as one of my collaborators for this paper. So reach out to people, share ideas. But the central theme of your idea should be there. People should range around the idea, not 10 people with their own ideas coming and sitting on a table and going. So that is what I realized that before. So I still continue my research, but through wonderful colleagues like Dr. Jayashree and Dr. Sunil. Sandeep also taught me that, Arun, what you are doing, you are only targeting cancer cells. You grow them in a plate and then shoot them down with HET. And that is not the way. See, the environment in which you live, like, my son goes to college and my wife always tells my son, देखो तुम्हारा roommate कौन है? ये क्या दारू पीता है? गांजा खाता है? Beware of the environment. You are a good guy, but your environment may degrade you as you go along. So that is what I learned after I came to Kolkata and learned. That too, there's a few papers which with Sandeep and with the team here, that yes, the environment around the cells are also important. So if you want to cancer, forget about the pathways inside the cell. There are pathways related to its immune contexture. There are pathways related to the fibroblasts which live around them, that you may have to inhibit them if you want to find an end to cancer. So that is the message, that we also target the environment, not just the cells around. So I asked doctors when I came back. When I came back to Calcutta about 10 years back, and it was a curiosity. Well, kya kiya yaar, those guys, like, what did you do in that lab? He said, kya kiya? He said that, then I asked them, why don't you do research? Why don't you go and find out? Enjoy, go see that. So some of the reasons which I have collected here are views of my own people. Doctors, I must say. Doctors, and especially doctors who work in cancer. Number one says, yes, sab hamara setup nahi hai. This you do in NIH, yeah? They are funded by Donald Trump. Actually, Donald Trump has cut funding to this doesn't happen in India. So don't forget about it. It's a paper mein hota hai. You publish 10 papers around there, it's because you are in the US. Agreed? Then he said, somebody pointed out, I went to IISER, people who have already dabbled, like Dr. Moni Abraham Kuriakose, a wonderful researcher. He used to be a my own colleague, Vikram Tekar today. He's still an associate professor with MSKCC, Memorial Sloan Kettering. These guys said, see, cancer research is not like serendipitous research. I'll come to that in a while. I'll explain this when I come to that. Somebody said, there is the money. You ask DBT for 10 lakhs, they'll give you 2 lakhs. And it happened with SciMac also. He said, I have a timeline, you finish, submit your, whether science goes on or submit the papers in time. And moreover, if you say, I need 10 crores, you're an honest guy and you write 10 crores, they'll give you 2 crores. So people will inflate, make it 50, but still you don't get it. And said that India is still a poor country. Come on, take that mindset off your head. We are not poor anymore. Don't bandy that when you apply for foreign grants or when you want to visit abroad, you say, I come from a third world country. You are not. Come on, we are one of the biggest economies in this country. So these are the reasons people say that, research hota nahi hai. Doctors cannot do research in that. You have spent 10 years studying, earn some money, take care of your father when he grows old. Don't go into these labs and all that. I'll just dissect one of these one by one. It's not possible in my setup. It's because all research does not take money. It asks for questions. Ask a question in a way that you will get an answer. There are questions all around you. Look at this man. His name is Professor. He's not a professor, sir. He's a Dr. Bavaskar. And Dr. Bavaskar works in a primary health center. And he has papers in the Lancet. How many of you have papers in Lancet? And the New England Journal of Medicine. These are the highest impact journals. Only by dint of his observation. The health center where he worked was in rural Maharashtra. There were scorpions. And every day to his clinic, patients would come with scorpion stings. Somebody from the same place there? From Dr. Bhavaskar's area there? So, it just requires observation. And he did a randomized trial where one group of patients he gave prazosin, another group he did not give prazosin. And the results were so amazing that it came up in the words. He continues to write, he continued to keep data, and he's just like your next door physician in a rural health center in Maharashtra. So by saying that I need NIH all the time to bring out quality papers, sorry, you need to have good ideas, you need to talk, discuss, you need to keep data. Serendipitous research. Do you all know the story of penicillin? Oh, so many times, right? I'm not tired of talking about this to my children as well. My doctor, you sort of, at at night time, she would come and sit with an encyclopedia and I'll show this picture and say, look how he did it. So what Fleming did was he left that plate of Streptococcus growing, or Staphylococcus, I don't know, and then some fungi grew over it which inhibited the colonies around them. And then he suddenly saw it, and then eureka moment came in. That's called serendipity. You find things all of a sudden. Oh, there is a lot of glamour to serendipitous research, right? Something like this happens, people never forget this. My daughter is probably going to tell this story to her daughter at some point. You know what how Alexander Fleming found out penicillin? It is rare to get such kind of things, serendipitous research in medicine. It's not easy, and it does not come your way like that. This is how strategic research is conducted in. So this is a phase 2 trial. So you develop a concept. To get a concept, you have to sit around people, think about it. Is it practical? You have to put it into some plate or then some mice or something. You may fail at any level, and then you will have to come back and revise your concept again. If it succeeds, animal studies, you move to clinical trials, multiple stages of it, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, before you can take it out into the market. The amount requires billions and billions of US dollars. I'm saying dollars because we don't do it in India. Otherwise, I would have said rupees. And if things fail, you are back to square one again. Done. You have gone through all that. You need to have regulatory approvals. People, FDA needs to tell you that you can sell it. If it doesn't, back to square one. Then again, after you sell it, you have to give data to say that now this drug is being used for 10 years. Patients are fine with that. Only then you call it a viable drug. It's not like Alexander Fleming leaving a petri dish on his table. Eventually, I think, and look at this, this is one of the biggest failures that we have. So from here to here to here to here, we finally reached here with bortezomib in head neck cancer. Bortezomib is used for other cancers. We thought we will hijack that for head neck cancer because some basic data said it could. It failed miserably. No effect at that point. So again, lessons in failure. So it's a challenging journey for any therapeutic target, any drug, any intervention in medicine to go ahead successfully. Lots of time and money. Definitely, we're a poor country, we don't have money, right? We don't have money at all. Look at the Wright brothers story, right? So when Wilbur and Orville Wright, they owned a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio. They got this idea of aeronautics because they read some journal which came by mail to them. They were not aware. And they got the idea in 1899 that we can fly. Humans can fly. Okay, people were flying, people were using gliders, but not powered flight. And these guys made bicycles, which went with human power. And you know how long it took them to get a plane off the ground with a petrol engine? 6 years. In 6 years, they had developed a model which would actually fly after having numerous failures along the way. So that is how some research goes on, which is fast, which is quick. Look at your computers. You buy a version today, your software is out within 5 years. Mechanical research, new developments, new technology, new material. Look at medicine, HPV. HPV is a virus because I think a lot of labs are interested in viruses here. Somebody said it looks similar to CS cervix. I put it because Dr. Jayashree is interested in cervix here. Then we found that it is also found in the throat for various reasons. I don't know, maybe they love the throat, maybe because of oral sex, I don't know, whatever. But it's there in the throat as well. And people also realized that people with HPV positive, they did well. They did better than smokers who got HPV. So somehow the virus is good. To get a virus-induced one. We now very well know that HPV has better prognosis. Right? We know HPV. If you have an HPV-based disease, you are going to do better than a non-HPV person. So can we decrease treatment? Treatment is not. People who have gone through cancer treatment will tell you it's not very easy to take cancer treatment. So can we give less treatment and give them the same benefit? We still don't know. And so the HPV story does not end. We are 33 years down the line with HPV. We still don't have answers to that. So that is the problem with medical research. Things don't happen overnight. 33, I think 3 generations of doctors would have passed by the same door by that time. And we are still trying to find out if we can de-escalate treatment. We still don't de-escalate. We don't have evidence to do. So serendipity, serendipitous research has glamour. It made a lot of news value. You discovered. Alexander Fleming is great. But planned research is fraught with setbacks. You fall, time and again you fail. Only thing you can do is like slap the dust off your pants and get back to work again. And such is the nature of medicine. You can call research, but research is different in different areas. For example, look at this. This animal is called the opossum. 12 days, and look at the number of babies it has. The other one, elephant, has 2 years to get one baby, and both are mammals. The same way with research, they may be different according to the scenario that you have. The new buzzword that I heard, I know I was going to hear that if I came to IISER, is translational. Chalo, let us all become translational today. Translational research is not easy. And I quote, this paper is old, 2003. It is from the NIH, I guess. And I just want you to focus on this block here. It says, why is translational research not very possible? It's not that America, they are doing it in a much better way. No, they have problems. First of all, culture for research. You tell a patient, you sit in front of me, I'm going to toss a coin. Okay? Head comes, you take that treatment. Tail comes, you take this treatment. Will you agree? What does the patient say? Dr. Babu, apni to janen, apne bolo ki korbo ami nahi. Ai bolo sab ami kichu nahi. Asked him to sign a consent form, he will say, ami ekta badi ke chole asbo. And then he will look at it. There's some 50 pages of consent which is required by regulatory, and that is a regulatory burden. He goes home and he comes back totally scratching his head. Nah, because he's worried that I may take his property over with those papers. You know, the lingo in which it is written. I tell him nothing to worry. Amage vishwas karun. There's nothing in it. You come for the trial, then ठीक है. अब अपनी जो regular treatment है वो कहना वो ठीक है. Thank you. Fragmented infrastructure. Somebody said if I had a lab close by, I could just jump back, get the tissues, head back to my lab. I can see how you work. You can come and see how I work. And that is something we have yet to. Infrastructure is still fragmented. We can consider ourselves to one big ecosystem. Kalyani has that. You have a good ecosystem of hospitals and research labs coming. But I believe it should be as close as possible. Qualified investigators, doctors who understand research would only do research. Who has time to go give consents, collect sample, all the jhamela of maintaining confidentiality. Career disincentives. If I do research, if I spend the time operating another patient, I'll get more money. I can think of a Mercedes-Benz coming in the next 5 years. But no, if you do research, it is a definite disincentive. Somebody mentioned that there is a position available where MBBS people can be brought in. Which doctor is going to come for your MBBS course, my dear friend? There is no incentive for coming into that. You limit my practice, that's all. Research cost, again, DBT and ICMR is not going to give you the amount which is going to make any difference. And that is an issue in America also. I just mentioned Trump. No, not Trump, even Biden cut funding to NIH. So pure research will not get funded. Acha, let me ask you a question. We say we are poor. We are very poor. हम लोग गरीब देश हैं भाई. ठीक है. Look at Congo. That's 176th least developed country. 65% below poverty line. You only live 48 years. Your average life expectancy, and in GDP, it's somewhere near the bottom. A poor country. It's called the dark heart of Africa. And exactly, geographically also situated within the. But just look at what Congo has. Largest reserves of cobalt, tin, copper, tantalum, niobium. These are rare earths which find their way into every computer chip. Today, your mobile phone has more than 50 such elements. And they're all mined in Congo. They're called rat hole mining, like you heard that term. And it's subsistence economy there. 30% of the world's diamonds. It lives on a lava vent. The whole Congo basin lives on a lava vent. There are precious metals, minerals in that. The river, it's an equatorial river, perennial water flows through that rich equatorial forest. But it is a poor country. Why? Because of the way it was ruled. People who left after the Belgians left were even worse. So people don't, it is not because you don't have anything, it's because you don't have planning, you don't have thought, and that's why people remain. That's the same thing with research in India. We have so much. This hall, itself, full of luminaries, people with diverse research backgrounds. We are not coming together and talking and synergizing ourselves. Give credit where it is due, take where it is due. Other people in the world can do it. Indians can never do. Corruption, wherever it is possible, So I had a fellow called Andrew Lindsay who came to Amrita Institute where I studied. Andrew came to India because he wanted to see the culture of India. He wanted to see the spiritual. He's a beautiful surgeon, and he said, I want to spend some time in India. I want to see you operate and I want to see the world also. So I got him a house somewhere away from my hospital. So on the second day he comes to me and say, I took an auto rickshaw. How much do you pay? I said, I pay from there around 40 rupees. And he said, he charged me 250 rupees. I said, you got swindled? He said, why? I said, because you are a Gora. You're white. So they think you're rich. So you got swindled. He said, but how can they do it? I'm a human being. I said, of course. And then he said, in front of the auto rickshaw, there was pictures of all gods. There were agarbattis burning. I thought he's a pious man. So that's how the perception is, that we are not poor, we are not bad, but corruption is somewhere deep within us, which we need to think about at some point of time. Not possible in poor countries. Okay. So you all know what is GDP. You say country is rich or country is poor. I just showed you this what country was. Congo was low down in GDP. There is something called GERD. This is called the per capita expenditure for research. How much money does your country put in for research? And look at this. Can you see India anywhere? There are countries like Kenya, which is putting more money into research today. Countries of Africa and Western Pacific are putting more money than in most of the developed countries. I'm surprised to see I don't see United States anywhere up here. The great Trump country is not, it's been trumped by smaller countries coming from there. So we are very, very we don't emphasize too much on research. I think for scientists, it's a time to take up cudgels and say, if we don't fight for ourselves, nobody is going to fight for us. Things are not bad. Come on, I am an optimist. Things are changing. See, even corporate hospitals where no research takes place, now they have medical courses called Diplomate of National Board, where you have to do thesis. I just hope that there are some sane people who will drive research here. The amount of patient information, patient data, all can be used for research. Always it need not be molecular, but at least it can lead medical science to better avenues from these places. We have open source material today. At some time we had to have funding to get all that. For that, my research, I use mostly Google, Zotero, R packages, JASP. Have you tried out JASP? It's a statistical software. I think you can do it with a little bit of training. It's from the University of Copenhagen. It's free. I learned to do all my t-tests and my IISER and all that. I do that with JASP today. It's free. You don't have to pay for SPSS. Statisticians, we didn't have biostatisticians. Very difficult breed. Very difficult to get biostatisticians. Today they are available for consultation online. You just transfer the money in Google Pay. They will be able to spend a few hours to design a paper for you. Again, worldwide, people are coming to our hospitals from China, from Japan, from the US, because to conduct their trials in India. Because we have the largest patient repository. Our population is a strength on that. So many patients that we have. So we must leverage on these strengths that we have. But our attitude is also changing. Our doctors are also changing. So look at this graph. These are the number of clinical trials registered. See, there is a sudden jump up from 2000. A new generation of young people like you have come up and said that medicine does not, it's not just limited to writing prescriptions or doing surgeries. We must do trials. We must drive research from within the country. And I'm so glad to see that these numbers are actually rising. And in future, we see a lot of bright young doctors taking up research as we go. For a surgeon like me, it need not be molecular, even though I collaborate with people doing molecular research. Document your work, whatever you do as surgeons. Like, for example, we do reconstruction. As I said, now after oral cancer, you have to put the face back in. So, some new technique which we can actually go into journals. So, we use forearm. The forearm skin can be used too. So, we did quite an interesting thing, like we took out the rib from a body and we buried it under the forearm so that the rib and the skin tethered together. And like the two ribs, can you see the two ribs popping out like that? And then we took the forearm from the skin with the blood vessels along that, and we transplanted into the trachea, the windpipe. So patient had a cancer of the windpipe. So a windpipe has to be rigid, otherwise when you breathe it will collapse. So we gave two ribs to keep it intact. and then we anastomose it to the blood vessel so that this piece was still alive, and the patient had a very successful surgery with a good windpipe here. So these things again, you can, if you document, if you photograph, if you publish, makes its way into journals all the while. It actually, the kind of data that we keep is raw material for further research. Like from our data, from the retrospective data that we kept. No, one of our fellows always call a patient and find out kya ho raha hai, kaise ho raha hai. We'll collect all the pathology reports. So we have like case details, 1,000 cases. We know how nodes spread. Looking at retrospective, we know when do nodes go from one side to the another. All this has been done without any effort, just because we have 13 years of data lying in our systems in Data Medical Center. And this forms the nidus for research. And I think even basic science research can be catapulted using this kind of retrospective data. Collaborate. We realize that India is the hotspot for oral cancer. Go to any doctor, any oncologist, his biggest practice will be oral cancer. So we thought, why don't we all come together in India and form a collaborative team? So we have something called the HNCOG, the Head Neck Cooperative Group, where Bejijak, everything is kept in a database. If I want, I share. If I don't want to share. But the results are all shared together in the papers that we do together. It has actually helped us understand cancer better. We are able to understand how much patients spend on cancer in various parts of the country. We know which patient will do good, which patient will do bad based on clinical and pathological parameters. This is not molecular research, but it's adding value to the treatment of patients. So as surgeon, I'm doing the best as we can do to do that. Our protocols also have changed. We have told the world that there's something called perineural invasion, cancer spreading through nerves. So that we can now subcategorize it. And we have refined our protocols based on this. We know which patients do well, which patients do bad, even they go to a single node. Is it bad if it goes to one node, and is it worse if it goes to 2 or 3 nodes? Today we find that no, there is no difference. So all this is done through data keeping. So again, for a surgeon like me, doing research is not entirely molecular, though I have tried to learn your language. I have tried to dabble in it a little bit. It has excited me. It has frustrated me. But it has made me more receptive. I'm open to hearing you. I'm able to understand you. So I believe that it is a culture. In a culture, there will be a lot of people from different backgrounds, but there are common themes which you adopt to make a sense of being one and unique. And that is culture. To develop a research culture, a million scientists like you cannot form that culture. There should be, if you're doing medical research, you should have clinicians, you should have doctors, you should have technicians. That ecosystem has to evolve as a culture. Modern day research is always collaborative. You may be the best scientist in the world today. You will not make any impact. I may be the best surgeon in the world today. I may not make an impact till I collaborate with the team. Your failures are going to guide you. Don't worry if you hit a roadblock, your Western blot doesn't work, your PCR does not show the kind of fold increase which you expected. Think about it. Your failures are going to draw you out. And I think the time is now. We are seeing this change happening in doctors. They are embracing more and more research. The time has come for you to reach out, and I believe, and that is now. So with that, I'll come to an end of my talk. I would love to hear from you in case you have any criticisms, any comments. You can even write back what bullshit did you say on that day. I'll be happy to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunil, for giving such a wonderful talk. And if any questions from the audience, we can take a couple of questions. Any question? Yeah, super.
So very nice talk. So even if you ignore the past, what prevents more doctors coming into the medical science, MD, PhD kind of degrees? I understand it will be very select few, but you also have a huge population. My other question is why did India have so few doctors?
I won't say it's an evolution. It's not that India lacks doctors. We had limited infrastructure to produce doctors at one time. Today, I think it is going to go in excess. in times to come. People choose this specialty because of the aura that it has and an assumption that doctors will earn quite well. You don't have to rely on a master for your job. You are an independent professional, and I can practice till my teeth are down and my hair fall off. So these are some of the incentives why doctors take up this profession. The numbers are going to grow very fast. I'm not very sure about the quality of these people who are produced. Forget research, even basic clinical care. And there are few batches which passed out during COVID. Ask them the difference between a left and the right hand, they probably would not know. It's because they never went to the clinics. They were cooped at home and they were given mandates to pass them in the end. So this country will have a lot of contradictions, but I also see a lot of positivity that again we are so stuck on with giving essential medical needs, catering to essential medical needs, that for a doctor to think beyond that into research is still rare. I'm sure there are people who are thinking about that. The second thing is, where are you going to place these MD-PhDs in the end? Suppose I did a PhD. Could not do a PhD. I wanted to do one because NIH is a federal organization. It's not a university. So NIH does not award. Otherwise, I would have got a PhD for the work that I have done. The thing is that where will I be placed? Were I able to come back to TMC and ask for a lab on my own? No. I was expected to set up a surgery unit. I was asked to provide world-class reconstruction. And from day one, I had 50 patients in my outpatient department. So where do I place myself? Could I go to a pharmaceutical company? Could I go to a device development company? Where is my PhD going to be deployed? How is the country going to use my PhD? Till you create those spaces, I think it will just remain as an ornament in many people's lives. And they will continue doing what they are doing to their MD or their thesis. So that is the challenge.
Thank you.
Any other question? Yeah.
Great talk, Dr. Arun. I'm just curious about the head and neck cancer. What's your experience? Cancer limited or regular?
So oral cancer
Or
is
combination.
I'll tell you how things work. So oral cancer is first of all, before even you go to treatment, I think it's one of the most preventable cancers. Right? It's habits. It has been proven beyond doubt that at least in this part of the world, the key etiology for driving oral cancer is tobacco. It requires a lot of effort. I think the government is never going to stop anything. The tobacco industry has got a huge lobby. I think it has been banned in a few places, but effectively it does not. I'll tell you a story how it happened in a few states where the ban. So gutka, which is a combination of pan masala and tobacco, was banned. So gutka essentially has some spices and some areca nut and some tobacco. So technically you are allowed to sell pan masala. Technically you are allowed to sell tobacco. Gutka was banned. So the company now sells you pan masala and gives pouch of tobacco free with that. Your choice. If you want to take tobacco, you take it. So it doesn't make it. So that is how people get it. The second question is about what is the treatment for that. I think detected early, it is one of the most curative. You can cure it. I'm surprised if there's a cancer growing in your stomach, if a cancer growing in your lung, you would have no way of knowing it. But something growing on your tongue, which you open every day, or at least you stick out your tongue to your colleague every day, somebody should see that, right? But no, the primary tumor, which is small, is actually missed by people or ignored by people. And that's why it causes mortality. Third, there's no therapy other than surgery for oral cancer. That's the sad state of it. So that's why people like me have a job. Right? Immunotherapy has come in a way. It is still exploratory. It is still used when all modalities are. The cost is still high. That's prohibited. But we have seen some very long responses with immunotherapy. Pembrolizumab and nivolumab. Time will tell how they pan out into mainstream treatment.
Hello there, very interesting talk. So as a basic researcher, if I visit a patient, go to a clinic through a clinician, so if I meet a patient, they often don't believe us. If I try to explain what I want to do, like I want to go for a longitudinal assessment to get the overall survival or the disease-free survival data, they don't believe the researcher. So they ask the clinician, and the clinician is often very busy because he is having a number of patients standing in the OPD, and then this connection, the connection is getting lost. So how to make it?
This is what I was telling you all around. You just sort of echoed it in louder words.
So how to make it work?
I think you'll have to wear a coat and tie and sound a little authoritative like Koro. It requires somebody who understands here. The clinician, see, everyone says, I don't have time, I don't have time. See, everyone has a finite amount of time. I may be the busiest doctor, but you will have to take time out if you believe that you are doing it for a right cause and your heart is in it. Otherwise, you push me to do that. Many a times researchers come to me, the moment they walk into my room, I know, tissue मांगने आया है. So I cut short the discussion. I'm going to take happy with your pathway, you take your tissue and go.
So, nice talk. Have you seen any connection between food habits in all over India? There are different kinds of food habits. Any correlation between food habits and occurrence of cancer?
No, I am not. Well, you see, the one way if you look at food, food is such a cultural thing, right? If you look at a day's food, just think from morning, right? It may be so variable in terms of the ingredients that you add into it, how your food came, whether pesticides were put into it. It's a very complex situation. And to say, for example, this caused that, the association and causation with food is a very difficult thing to establish. People have raised putative, like certain areas like China. Okay, so they do a lot of smoked food. People in Nagaland, they have esophagus cancer, food pipe cancer. They eat those Naga chilies, very, very hot. One will take you straight to heaven. So those things, then people think esophagus cancer is because of chilies. But so far, we have not had a group which took chili, which did not take chili. Even then, it may not just be chili. There are 10 other things which they eat. One group may be eating pork, the other may not be eating pork. One group may be eating rice, the other may be taking wheat. So to bring about that kind of some AI algorithm will be need to put in if you want to associate food with cancer. Oral cancer, I tell you, even though it's high here, it's not rare to get in the West. They don't chew tobacco. So even etiologies may be different. So we will have to keep your mind open. It will require a big systematic study, AI powered, large numbers before you can make sense of information from dietary habits.
So, once the research questions are over, let me thank you for this wonderful
Thank
talk
you, ma'am.
first and then make 2 comments. One is, I have 2 wonderful biochemist friends. Forget about the value of PhD in medical research, forget about that. His son is going to be a doctor very soon. And since these are 2 wonderful biochemists, they almost understand in and out of everything that is happening. Often, his son will come and tell things to his parents. His parents will try to explain things. He comes and says, my professor told me that I am going to be a doctor, not a biochemist. I do not know all these things. So it's in the class that they are saying. So he actually irritates his parents by saying, but he learned. But see how in the class they are told, you are going to be a doctor, not a biochemist. You need not know all these things. Forget PhD. It happens in the classes only. Right?
But I think that aura is shedding off.
Yeah, like you said, the change is now. It is happening. It's now. The awareness is happening. Yeah. And the second,
I can't enforce my children to take medicine. So I said, I can't do the kind of nonsense that you do. Let me live my life. Right? I think people should choose their professions according to what they like, not what based on whether it will get you a job. I think all good professionals will get a job. And if you like a job that you do, it's not a job anymore.
absolutely. Then you really
You enjoy what you do.
And the second thing is the way I tell in classes. I mean, I started teaching cancer when these people, they were like kids. I used to teach cancer, and like the pathways that you show, that is some point of time I understood. It's a computational biologist job. It's not my job who works with a single pathway. or to think about a single party. Like, I'm very happy to see that. Point is, I think Homo sapiens, we are the only species who think about, after cancer happens, you make so many hospitals, so many cures, so many research. We don't think about the prevention.
No.
We don't think about that. This is one species who is working for its destruction to prevent destruction but not prevent the cause. Prevention is better than cure. Possibly I'll disappear from your dictionary.
Absolutely. I
This is
agree
some-
with you, madam.
Yeah.
Completely.
Thank you so much.
The money spent for prevention is much less
Absolutely, absolutely. That awareness is not there. Forget the money. That awareness is not there.
Even, madam, the vodka packet which you buy, I don't know, I've got one just for curiosity. There is a picture of somebody with a bad tongue, with an ulcer tongue. Have you seen somebody
Every
smoke?
movie will have
Anybody
it.
who smoke buy a packet of cigarettes, you will see that, right? Everyone believes this picture is not for me, it's for my friend.
Exactly. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, I really appreciate for your patience.
Any other questions?
Thank you for
So I would like to thank Professor Arun for the wonderful talk and especially for giving the Ovation Award for Dr. Sunil Chandra Bose. And on behalf of IISER Kolkata, we want to felicitate him and also WAST will felicitate him. So I request Professor Meghnad to felicitate with the WAST flag first, and then I request Dr. Supratim Datta to come for IISER Kolkata to felicitate him.
Yeah.
Now, on behalf of IISER Kolkata, I request Dr. Supratim Datta to give the memento and also the IISER Kolkata memento.
नहीं बीच में उनका वो आएगा दिस थिंग आई अंडरस्टैंड
बंद करूं?
बंद कर दो दैट विल बी बेटर आई
A big applause for Professor Arun. And thanks Cindy for giving us the opportunity to host this Dr. Sunil Chandra Bose Memorial Award. And thank you all for coming.
one picture with all the faculties
For first, we need a picture, so all of the participants, please come and we will take a picture, group photo.
Initially, please, all the faculties can gather and
Yeah.
we take a picture with all faculty.
Just a quick announcement, all the students, please take the back exit and you will get the refreshments and the faculty
They will
members.
also take the picture.
after the picture
And all the faculty members are requested to take the front exit for the refreshments. So, thank you.
Please come. Arpita, please come. Arpita.
Hello. Participants, please wait. After the faculty picture, there will be a group photo with all the participants.
All of you,
All the participants,
come. All the participants, please come. No. Sir, please. Please come quick.
जा संसारी जा इससे
Please come.
जाओ 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 माँ पूछी क्या चाहिए
I was scared actually.